One of the problems we have with medieval recipes is they don't have quantities. So we never know how much of any given spice, how much of any given meat, what is supposed to go in there.
But there is one important exception, a 14th century cookbook from Venice that actually gives you some quantities of spice. This is where we get today's recipe for Ambrosino, or capon braised with spices. But the problem is,
do we know how big a medieval capon was? No, but we can guess at it. Figure today a capon is about 10 pounds. Probably in the Middle Ages they were little. They were probably about 5 pounds. So you won't be able to buy a 5-pound capon, but you can buy a 5-pound chicken.
So cut up your chicken, or capon. Capons, of course, are castrated roosters, which makes them especially plump and juicy.
And now we've got chicken in 8 pieces. I like to reserve all the rest of the stuff for chicken broth. And so this is a fairly straightforward procedure. You take some lard. Of course, lard is pig fat that has been melted. Put it in a nice hot pan, and then brown your chicken.
Of course, this would have been done by sweating kitchen scullions in giant cauldrons over blazing coals.
But we are just going to use a plain old pan here. And while this is browning, and this is going to take a while, about 10 minutes or so, let's deal with the spices.
If you know anything about medieval cooking, you know that the food used lots of spices, but they were mostly sweet spices like ginger, clove, cinnamon. These sweet spices, or spezia dolce, came pre-mixed, kind of like curry powder or pumpkin pie spice. They were much more sophisticated about where to get their spices in those days.
And if they could get it, they would get cinnamon from Ceylon. Ceylon cinnamon is soft. It's got soft bark which easily crushes, unlike what we mostly use, which is cassia.
One ingredient you will never find today, in the United States at any rate, is something called a folio. These are presumably Indian bay leaves.
So it looks like our chicken's almost done. Nice and brown. So pour off the lard into something, leaving just a little bit. Put the chicken back in there. And now just a smattering of spices. Cinnamon stick, a few chunks of nutmeg, and a few cloves. And of course some salt as well.
Add a little chopped up ginger and about 1/2 gram of saffron. And that's only half of it. There's a lot of saffron in this dish.
Cover the thing up and let it cook for a while. One of the critical ingredients in medieval food is almond milk. Almost every other recipe seems to have almond milk in it. And to make almond milk, you take some almonds, take some water. Same idea really as making coconut milk. And in this particular recipe, you also take some vinegar. How much vinegar is really up to you. You need to taste the recipe at the very end of cooking. Now, if this were really the Middle Ages, of course, we'd have kitchen slaves who would, with a mortar and pestle, turn all of this into a beautiful puree. Me, I have a machine that's probably about as old as your average medieval lifespan, but works just as well, mainly a blender. So turn the thing on and puree. Then take your almond milk and pour it through a sieve so that you get all the almond pieces out. And yeah, it looks just like milk. Almond milk was used a lot on fast days because on fast days you couldn't have real milk, so you used almond milk. You've got this gorgeous orange color which comes from the saffron, and this was very, very highly prized in those days. Gold was the color that everybody wanted to have. So about halfway through cooking, you add chopped up dates, you add prunes, raisins, or currants in this case, and some almonds. And it is at this point that you add about half of those sweet spices.
It seems like a lot, but not if you compare it to Indian food. And this gets cooked in until everything is nice and aromatic.
And then this gets cooked in until everything is nice and aromatic. Not too long at this stage because the chicken is pretty well cooked. So let's finish off that Ambrosino. We add our almond milk. That, of course, will form the basis of the sauce. And then most of the remaining spezia dolce, you want to save just a little bit for a garnish at the very, very end. And then just let it cook for a minute or two. And let's put this on the serving platter and see what our tasting panel has to say to this one. For the Ambrosino. So dig in.
So is this like a hands-on thing?
Yes, but you can use your knife. You see, you were able to use a knife to cut things.
I thought the spices were going to be way overwhelming.
The chicken is cooked really well.
It was good. It was really good. I like the sweetness and I like the prunes.